Hello, good morning, and welcome back to the relaunch of Circle Hook Productions. My name is Clint, and I'm out here today on a very blustery and windy Lake Conroe, north of Houston. So going to put some baits down just about in a couple of minutes. Going to wait for a couple of people to get in here as well. Basically, we're going to be fishing with a bit of chicken today. I went out last week for the first time in a long time, probably in about a year. Got onto some good fish, and I'm actually in a little spot here, which has sort of become my favorite little spot out here on the lake. And yeah, we're going to kickstart the channel again today. I see there's one person in the chat there. Let me just get the chat up and running so we can see who it is, or at least watching the stream. Let's see. So we're going into our comments. Nothing just yet. But yes, welcome in if you're just joining. This is the return of Circle Hook Productions. I'm out here on Lake Conroe, north of Houston in Texas. And it's super windy out here. So I want you to, if you can hit a 1 there in the chat, if you're busy watching, let me know if the audio is good or not. And then we'll get the show on the road and get some baits down. Basically, I've got my 4 rods with me that I've always been using for the last 4 years. And we're going to see if we can't hook into something pretty decent out here, even though it's super windy. So up front, I'm going to be using my Big Cat Fever rods. These are the black ones with the cork grip. It's sort of the original model. So these are the OG Big Cat Fevers that they brought out way in the beginning. I think this is the best rod you can still buy for catfish. I actually want to get myself the white ones and have them show up really nicely at nighttime with the UV light here in the front and the back of the kayak. So maybe get 4 of these, put on a good show. These rods here paired with the Cast King Capstan 300 reel. So that's another thing. I'm really a big fan of these low-profile bait casters for catfishing, especially from the kayak, because I'm not casting out normally. I'm normally suspend fishing. So basically that means just dropping the baits down with a 4-ounce sinker, letting it hit bottom, reel it up a little bit, let it sit there, and yeah, wait for a big fish to come and have a bit of a breakfast. Then the other rod I've got that I use on the back is the Chopstick from Catfish Sumo. So this is the Master Series 2.0. It's a bit of an older rod that they have. And yeah, it's been okay, but I want to sort of be a bit more consistent, or at least have the same rods all the way around, and that's why I want to do the white version of the Big Cat Fevers. What I'm also doing is something I didn't do in the past, and that's fish with a spook. So it's basically a little rattling float that sits at the hook. Now I've got it sitting at the hook directly, so I like to do that when I'm suspend fishing like this. It sort of lifts the whole bait up, and it has sort of the eye of this spook or lure thing closer to the bait. So as you can see, I'm pointing the eye towards the bait. Well, it's getting super windy here now, and I'm sort of rocking and rolling, but we'll keep it going. So the eye pointing to the bait sort of helps it to attract fish, in my opinion. So fish are normally attracted to the eye, especially predatory fish. They like to go for something that has a visible eye on it. That's why lures normally have eyes, and they'll normally attack the front side of it. So with the eye pointing toward, gives them a direction to follow, and with the bait being the side, attracts them to the right side of the presentation that I would like them to. So let's get started here. Get some bait on the hooks. I went out yesterday for a little bit of bait fishing. Didn't come up with much. It was also very windy yesterday, and I think a lot of the bait fish were sitting down and not playing the game either. So let me just get my stuff here. So I've got some plain chicken breast, always served me well. And I've actually caught a fair amount of fish and some decent sized fish from the same spot with chicken. And then I've got these fish bites, they're called. So this is the Yerman catfish type of sort of strips that they sell. I used to use these when I first started catfishing from the bank, before I had a kayak. And I used to catch tons and tons of channel cats with these. So it's a really good bait if you're just looking to go out and catch some fish. You're not going to catch anything tremendously big with it. Although the time I went out on my Hobie Pro Angler 14, and this is now 2021, so October 21, so years ago, 3 years ago, basically 2.5. I actually caught my 3 biggest catfish I've ever caught using chicken with a little piece of this stuck on the end of the hook. So basically the shad flavor, or the artificial shad flavor that's built into this, sort of disperses throughout the water. And I think those fish think that piece of chicken is a nice chunk of shad. So we're going to try that this morning. I haven't done this in a while, so hopefully this produces some results. So let's get started and get some baits on these hooks. I normally use a pair of shears or scissors, so these are just typical garden shears. Even for cutting up cut bait, like shad and bluegill and those sort of things, I'll also use those and cut them. A lot of people typically use a cutting board and a knife, but I find it just a little bit easier and less equipment needed just to use a pair of shears. And especially if they're super sharp like these ones are, they go through bait like a knife through butter. So that's what I use for that. Then I've got these 4-ounce weights that I use. So these are sort of just the normal sort of disc weights. Stick them onto the sinker slider here, clip them on. And basically what that will do, if you're not familiar with catfishing, that will slide up and down the line. So normally if you're casting out from the bank, this will sit on the bottom, and then your presentation with the float here will sit sort of a little bit up in the water column, depending on the length of your leader, and get it sort of out of the mud off the bottom and allow fish to find it a little bit easier. But when suspend fishing, it's not a big deal. You know, have the weight sort of even fixed. It doesn't really need to be a sliding weight, as long as it just takes that bait down and keeps it towards the bottom of the lake or the river. Let's get the other sinkers on the back here. I see we got another person that's joined us. Welcome, welcome. Fishing out here on Lake Conroe this morning. It's super windy, as you can see, but I hope that my audio is fine. So if somebody can jump in the chat there, if you don't mind, and just let me know how it sounds, because I'm a little bit blind in terms of if it's coming through or not, and that'll be great. So these are just regular chicken breasts from Walmart, the cheapest type. And I find that the cheap ones, or the sort of the house brand, are the best in terms of staying on the hook. So they're probably not as good for human consumption, a little bit tougher, not as tenderized, but they tend to work pretty well for. So I'm going to do 2 lines with just the chicken, and then another 2 with that piece of fish bite, like a little sliver of it, or a little piece of the strip over the barb, and flavor up the chicken a bit more. So this first front rod going down with just plain chicken. We're in about 22 feet of water. Water temperature is already 77, 78 degrees, so already quite warm. And I'm guessing these fish are already heading towards the beds, if not already been on the beds, and maybe starting to do their thing and hit the spawn. I think I'll do the 2 left-hand side rods with the plain chicken, and then the 2 right-hand side rods with the fish bites as well. There's another bait going down. And again, as it hits bottom, just reel up a little bit. As you feel that tension, pick up the rod tip, and that'll pick it up about 1 foot or 2 off the bottom, and just keep the bait floating nicely and suspending. All right, now for these Yemen freshwater catfish fish bite things. So here in the back it says cut bait to desired length with sharp scissors. We've got a pair of sharp scissors, so that's good. For best results, keep bag sealed and bait dry. Well, it is already sealed, blah, blah, blah. So nothing much to it. And it's got 2 different types of presentation. So the one is to use like almost a whole full length strip and sort of weave it onto the hook. And then the other way is to cut it into a small piece about that big, maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and then stick it over the hook with other bait. Charlie 505. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Yes, it's very windy, and I'm glad to hear that the audio is good too. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so I'm going to keep this catfish strip thing pretty short. So there's 2 small little pieces like this, and that's going to go over the chicken. Well, chicken's going to go on first, and then I'll stick this over the hook tip to add that extra flavor. The other thing I probably should do, and I haven't done it because I just don't have the beads, is to put a bead in between your rattle float, your spook, and the hook eye. So with the way I like to have it with it all the way down to the hook, I guess it can sort of rub there and cause some abrasion between these 2 eyes and your leader line. This is an 80-pound mono, so it's not really going to do too much damage to it, but it can. And especially if you have a really big fish and it's down there and it's twisting and turning, it could cause problems. So something I'd definitely recommend is to get yourself some beads and make sure that you have beads in place as well. That's another big chunk there. I like to use big pieces of chicken when I'm fishing for catfish. I find that even though it attracts the smaller ones, still the bigger ones are a little bit more interested in playing the game. Now stuff's a little bit tough. You got to like work it to get that over the barb of the hook. But once it's over, it should just slide down the shank there. Okay, get it over the full barb, and we're good to go. Let's drop it down. The good thing with this these fish bites as well is that if your main bait comes off for whatever reason, let's say you got some dink taps and some fish were nibbling and munching on the bait down there, and you don't know about it, that little piece of fish bite will stay, and you could potentially still catch a decent fish because of the flavor that it puts out. So there's the one. Now we're going to do the other one. Did I only cut 3 pieces of chicken? That's weird. Okay, let me just do one more. As we have someone else that's joined the stream, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining this morning. If you're new here, hit subscribe. If you're not new here and you're familiar with my old channel, which was closed down, thank you for returning. But if you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. That'll be much appreciated. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's probably a smaller piece of chicken on this one. And then again, I'm just working that piece of fish bite down onto there. It's a little bit tougher and difficult to do when it's small like this, especially to get it over the barb. These hooks are 10-aught, so they're a little bit thick. Makes it a little bit more difficult, but there it is. It's on. That's basically how it looks. Bombs away. All right, we have all 4 baits down. So we're in action and ready to catch a fish. Like I said earlier, this spot has proved pretty good for me the couple of times that I've fished here. Basically, we're on top of a submerged bridge. So with my side scan imaging that I can do in the front on my Lowrance unit, I can basically see the archways of the bridge underwater. So the bridge is around here, just to the right of me. So these 2 lines are basically dropped right in front of that bridge. So imagine, so the archway and those baits are hanging just in front of it, and those catfish are hanging out just under that bridge, staying safe, staying out of the way, waiting for bait fish to come past and sort of jump out and attack them. And that's sort of what we're trying to do, is trying to sort of present the baits right in front of them and make them a little bit aggressive and come out and feed. With the weather the way it is and with the wind the way it is, I don't know what's going to sort of happen with that, but we'll see. Always optimistic and always positive to catch a good fish. The one thing I don't like about fishing with chicken is the fact that You got to sort of keep your hands clean, not touch food, and don't put it in your mouth. Right, so let me show you what we've got going on here. So obviously you've seen the view from that side. If I spin the camera around, we're out on the lake. So out there you can see Lake Conroe. It's a bit choppy today. With my wind noise reduction system that I've got going on here, you probably hear no wind at all. So you don't get the full effect of how windy it actually is, but it's really blustery. I'm rocking here. It's quite a bit of waves going on. So you can see the waves there on the front of the kayak, bobbing up and down, and those baits also bobbing up and down, which is also not ideal. But let's see. I mean, it could also attempt a bite as well. We don't know yet. So that's from the front, and we'll swing it back around like that. So this new way of recording, or at least for live streaming, is my new setup that I've sort of developed. And one of my first videos will be, well, new videos for this new channel will be the walk around of this kayak, which I never did. So I got this kayak 2 years ago, did a couple of tournaments with it, but never made a video. I actually only made one sort of fishing video that was more just about, riding around with a 360-degree camera and playing around with that. But never really did an actual review walk around of the build and the setup. So that's one of the first videos I want to put out. And then the other video would be for this specific streaming setup. So the way I do the audio, obviously, which is sounding pretty good, I understand. And then also like the camera quality, the way I do the internet, the way I do the stabilization, the way I'm able to see the comments right here in front of me. So it's a very unique setup. I don't think anybody else has done it this way. And I have a couple online YouTube catfishing tournaments coming up where I hope to showcase it and, yeah, maybe put on a good show. No bites just yet. Got some more people popping in to the stream. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I think there's something happening with this front right-hand side rod on the Big Cat Fever. It's not a sharp like tap kind of bite, but there's definitely something there. Sort of looks like it sort of held onto it and made that rod a little bit more steady. Something I learned over a couple of years I've been doing this kayak catfishing thing is to just let that rod go down. So I've sort of developed a confidence in the circle hooks that I use. Oh, I think we had a hit on one of them. I felt something here. Not sure if you saw that on the stream. But yeah, the hooks that I use are sort of a no-name brand that I found at some stage. So everyone has their own favorites. But these I found on Amazon, and I bought, well, I don't know, a lot of them, probably about 200 hooks. So I've got them as my little stash, I would say. But really, these hooks have been outstanding. Even massive big alligator gar, not needing to set the hook, just let them take that bait and then just leave it, and then let this rod holder that I've got in front here do all the work and let that gar hook itself up. Need to actually get out there and do that again. So that's something I do on the San Jacinto River, sort of from Lake Houston down to the Gulf, down to the bay. That whole stretch of San Jacinto River is really, really good for alligator gar. So if you're looking to sort of do a bucket list kind of fish and you're in the Houston area, that's definitely a place to go and try out and hook up with a fish of a lifetime. I think my biggest was close to around 80 pounds. A friend of mine caught a 200-pound gar in the spots that we used to go out to. Incredible fish. He actually laid out, I mean, he was 6 foot something, and he laid out next to it, and the fish was a little bit longer than him. Just got a tap on this rod as well. Again, if you're just joining, welcome. This is my new YouTube channel with the same name, So-Called Productions. And yeah, the old one I closed probably about 2 years ago. My last live stream was October 2021, so a very long time ago. And then my last video was just after I got this kayak. So I got this kayak in, when was it? April, I think April of 22. And about a month later, I made the video taking it out to Fayette Reservoir, just sort of west of the Houston area. Made that video. And then that was it. I think it was a little bit of burnout in a way in terms of YouTube. Had a lot of other stuff going on, moved house, whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, just didn't get around to doing it. But the more I haven't been doing it, the more I realized how much I love making videos. Obviously, live streaming is one thing, but making actual recorded videos and then the whole editing process. So that's always been really fun. And I sort of miss that. So it's like, you know, a way to get back into it and yeah, hopefully stick to it this time and do it more for the fun of that whole filming and editing thing. I mean, catching fish is great too, no doubt about that, and having a great community and great subscribers. But yeah, just want to have fun with it and see how long it can go. Now, if I don't have any luck in the spot, and because it's so windy, there is a nice little cove, sort of probably about half a mile away, and there's a bunch of submerged trees and timber and those sort of things. So what I'd like to do, maybe if we don't have any luck or fish that come out of this spot, is head out there, and then we can just spot lock and sit amongst those trees, drop the lines down, and see what happens. There'll definitely be more out of the wind, that's for sure. Okay, well, we've had 2 bites already. We had one sharp hit on both these front 2 rods. So again, like if you just joined, I've got chicken breast all around. So on the left-hand side, it's just plain chicken breast. And then on the, where's my bed? I don't know where I put this stuff now. Here it is. I mean, not fall out the kayak. And on the right-hand side, I've got the Yemen fish bite strips as well, together with the chicken. So the fact that I've got a bite on each one already doesn't mean much. It's probably about the same thing. Hey, we got Pontoon Jody catfishing. Yes, how's it going? Yeah, doing great, Jody. It's very windy out here, but the weather's nice in terms of like temperature and stuff. It's actually a nice day, all things considered. And haven't caught anything yet, just waiting for the first fish to have its breakfast and pull him up and get him in front of the camera for y'all. How did your tournament go last evening, Jody? I was watching here and there amongst the 3 channels. Oh, we got another bite here. Hopefully we're going to get a fish on camera very soon. Yeah, I was bouncing between the 3 channels. So it was Kevin of Palmetto Cats. We had Brian be catfishing with the other channel, and then Chad with Fields to Water was the other channel. So there's a whole bunch of people taking part in the Iron Cat Live Bait Challenge. And yeah, it's really fun stuff. So I'm going to be taking part in a whole bunch of those as well. Probably going to sign up for all of them and then see where I can take part, time permitting and other things going on permitting. Thank you, Jody. Appreciate it. Yeah, the plan was to also maybe drag a couple of baits today. But yeah, with the wind the way it is, I'm not going to play around with that because I'm going to have to then sort of go into the waves with the kayak. And it's just, I mean, it's doable, but it's just not fun. You know, and risk, you know, other boats flying past, making more waves and causing a bit of havoc for me. So we're just going to do a bit of suspend fishing, and then, like I said, maybe head off to the trees a little bit later. Jody says, I caught a ton on Friday and skunked on Saturday. I hate live bait. I believe you're the flathead queen, Jody, so live bait should be your thing. Or are you catching your flatheads on cut bait? To be honest, I've caught most of my if not all of my flatheads on cut bait, actually. And then I tend to catch big blues on live bait. Now, that's a bait I've only used ever once. So Jody's saying she catches 99% of her flatheads on cut skipjack. So I've only used skipjack once ever, and that was at Lake Wheeler and Wilson in Alabama. I went up there a couple of years ago for the TCKA. So it was a kayaking group that used to host tournaments and those sort of things. And we had the nationals up there, so I took part in that. And yeah, that was the first time I actually went out, caught skipjack, and used it for bait. We don't get it down here. So my primary bait that I can get is gizzard shad, and then sort of sunfish, bluegill, sort of those sort of things. Carp as well, just not as regularly in this lake. But yeah, skipjack is a fun bait, fun to catch as well. So for those that don't know and maybe joining the stream from other countries and not familiar with catching catfish, skipjack is it is a bait fish, yes, but it's also sort of a predatory fish. So you catch it by throwing out little spoons and artificial lures like spinners and stuff, and they're pretty aggressive. It's like a little miniature freshwater tarpon, if I can call it that. Okay, Jody says she only uses cut bait. Got a good feeling about this rod. There's still a fish hanging out there, tapping it from time to time. It's obviously a little small dink fish, but I'll take any size for a first one for this morning. Jody's saying, I only had one bite Saturday and it ripped my live bluegill off. Could have been a good one. Oh, thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. Fish is still biting here. I don't know if you can see on the stream when the back rods, definitely you'll be able to see them go down, but these two front ones, I guess you'll only see if it's like a really big takedown, and then maybe if the rod bends from sort of 3/4 of the way up, you might see that bite. Because the camera I'm using, I've got it on the most ultra wide setting it can go, so you're getting the most view possible in terms of the rod spread and layout. So for those watching again, so meaning when you still used to watch my old channel, I used to have the Pro Angler 14. And it was a good kayak, but one of the things I couldn't do on that kayak was turn around. So what's great with this one is I can sit sort of side on like this, and I can even spin all the way around to the back. Now, with it being this windy, I don't want to play around with it too much. Even though this kayak is really stable, I could stand up on it in the waves like this too. It's more of just a confidence thing and keeping your balance in this situation. But yeah, like being able to just swing around, sit like this, put the legs out on the cooler at the back, and relax from time to time. It's really cool. Where the Hobie, it was face to front, stand up from time to time, but pretty limited in that sense. So this kayak is really more of a little miniature boat. I actually had the whole family out on it. Took it out with the 2.3 Honda outboard engine at the back. Took everything else off, so no trolling motor, no like front storage pod, no sort of things. And then I had my daughter sitting here on the back cooler, and then my wife and son sitting here on the front with it's a little chair attachment that you can actually get for these kayaks, that you stick on the bow. It was a fun day. I don't think many people that day that saw us out there on the river had seen a family of 4 out on a kayak. So it was a pretty unique experience for all of them and for us. And if you're just joining, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I know it's cliched to say hit subscribe and like and hit the notification bell and all those sort of things, but starting from scratch here, doing pretty well. It's actually starting from scratch. I was on 0 subscribers last week, and I was up to 20 this morning. And my goal is to hit within the next week. I would say I would like to hit 50, and then sort of take it from there. I was close to 1,000 when I quit the first time. I think it was like 980 something. So I was just short of becoming like a monetized channel. Yeah, that took not too long. I would say about a year and a bit. Had one short video, one of those shorts that did really well. It got like 250,000 views, and that really helped things in terms of subscribers. But it's good and it's bad. Like it has its downsides. When you sort of blow up or go viral on a certain video, you get subscribers that are never going to come back. They saw that one video, they subscribed to your channel, and they what you call sort of like dead subscribers in a way. So they're sort of there, they show up in the number, but they don't really mean much in terms of watching the channel, watching the videos, engaging with the stuff, and just helping things grow more organically. We've got a fish here hanging out. Bit of a small dink bite again. I'm sure you can see that rod bouncing. Yeah, so some of the upcoming tournaments that I have are more focused around YouTube this time around. So previously I used to do a lot of the kayak catfishing tournaments, which I'll still do, the online ones where you take a photo of your fish and upload it through your phone on the app with the GPS coordinates and that sort of stuff. So that's fun from a kayak competitive perspective, but from just having a blast and having a lot of fun, I want to do more of the YouTube ones where it's a whole bunch of other types of fishermen. So not just kayak, it's like boat and bank and everything else, and compete live on YouTube like this. So basically streaming, everybody's sort of dialed into a channel, so a tournament host, and then it's a big show that gets put on, and it's a lot of fun. Hey, we got Joshua Perham, if I'm pronouncing that correctly in the chat. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Yeah, doing all right. It's very windy out here, but I've got my baits down. We're looking for a couple blue catfish here, my sort of favorite spot that I've found recently. Got a couple of bites so far on these front 2 rods. Nothing yet. Seems like dink bites, but I think we're pretty close to catching a fish. So if you stay tuned, within the next, I would say 15 minutes, we're going to have our first fish on board. yeah, so like I was saying, those YouTube tournaments, the first one coming up is going to be Palmetto Cats' Whisker Derby. So that was the very first one I did when he hosted that first Whisker Derby. That was my first online sort of foray into this whole live YouTubing thing. And that was a fun day. It actually became a disaster in terms of the weather. I was supposed to go out on the kayak, but there was huge lightning storms that came through as soon as I was about to launch and as soon as the tournament started. So I basically had to sit in my truck and I had my rods out in the water with the camera facing them there. And then just run the show from the truck. And, you know, if I caught a fish, run to the rods, grab the fish, show it, and keep things going that way. So that was a lot of fun. And then after the Whisker Derby, I think the next one is JBT Fishing's stink bait challenge. So that's going to be pretty interesting because, yeah, stink bait, as you know, or if you don't know, it's a dough bait, and I'm really only going to be able to catch channel cats and maybe bullheads. I'm just not sure if I'm going to get them out of this lake that I'm at. But yeah, plenty of channel cats here. So entered that because, you know, it's still going to be a fun time, and I haven't used stink bait in a while. And then after that one, we've got which one was it? It was Whisker Derby. There was the stink bait challenge. Oh, then there's the chicken challenge or chicken tournament. That'll be a lot of fun. I use chicken a lot, so I've got no problem with that. And then the one I'm most looking forward to would be the Iron Cat sudden death. So I like those sort of things where you got to catch a fish. You got to catch at least one fish within a certain amount of time, and if you don't, you get knocked out. And then at the end of it, sort of last man standing, or not last man standing, sudden death. So the first one to catch a fish will be the champion. Those sort of fun tournaments for people to watch as well. So those are the ones I like actually entered and sent in my request to take part. Oh, he's there. He wants to take it. We'll give him a bit more time. So those are ones I definitely did enter, but then I have made a request to sort of be entered into all of them. So there's a whole long list. I think there's maybe 15 different tournaments going on until the end of the year. And then, yeah, just see where I have the time available to get out here and take part. And hopefully see you watching. So this lake is one of Texas's premier bass fishing lakes, and I've literally only seen, now it's the second bass boat cruising down there. Whereas normally on a weekend, like on a Sunday like this, there would be hundreds of boats flying up and down. So yeah, the weather's definitely keeping people away. Just gonna check the bait on this side because it did get a couple of hits, and this one doesn't have the fish strip to protect the bait from coming off. It's still there. So we still got a whole chunk of chicken in pristine condition. Nothing happened to it. Stan the man, welcome. Thank you for popping in. I know it's Stan Day today, so I know a lot of folks will be over on your channel enjoying the show there. Or does it start? Oh, it starts in 20 minutes, I think. Is that correct? I actually didn't even know it was Stan Day. I've been so long out of the game and away from YouTube and away from all the channels that Stan 3 actually had to remind me in the chat that I'm going up on Stan Day. But yeah, it is what it is, and I already scheduled the stream, so it just happened that way. But yeah, my plan is to be out here for around, I would say 3 hours, not less, not more than 4, depending on how it goes in terms of catching. Great job last night. Also, Stan bouncing between all 3 channels. Did a great job there. I need to actually join maybe next Stan Day. Stan, if you can sign me up, and I'll take part. Joshua asks if I'm on Facebook. Sort of making a return to social media overall. So right as of today, not really on Facebook, but that might change in the future. And this wind is awful. And again, like those of you watching, I'm sure you don't hear it because of my sound muting technology I've got going on here. But yeah, I think the boats that are coming past and the houses that can maybe see me think I'm completely off my rocker crazy, sitting out here by myself on a kayak in the middle of the lake. On a lake notorious for being rough as well. I think what I might do is just move about 20 yards ahead and go to the edge, like sort of the edge side of the bridge. So if you weren't in the chat or in the stream earlier, I mentioned on the right-hand side here, there's a submerged bridge with like an archway. So on my side scan, I can actually see the imaging of that, how it looks. So it's definitely an archway bridge. And the way I was positioned a second ago was basically in the middle of that bridge. So I'm dropping baits down to hang sort of in the middle of that archway. Now I've just moved a little bit ahead. So I think I'm now sort of at that curve, or the straight part, sort of the pillar side, where it starts curving on the arch, and then have the baits just hanging in that sort of corner. Hey Eddie, good morning. Welcome to the stream here. Hopefully you're going to join us just in time for our first fish. Nothing yet, but we're going to get there. Stan says, more than welcome to join today if you would like. Totally up to you. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll let you know, Stan. If you can shoot me over the link anyway to StreamYard. And then later on, if I drop out of this one a bit later and I do move somewhere else on the lake, yeah, I might be up for that. Well, that's my coffee finished. Got 7 awesome people watching. Thank you. Appreciate it. Stan says Jody's sharing it out. Stan says he'll share it out as well. Thank you so much, Stan. It really, really means a lot. It's not easy to start from scratch. And even going live like this is my very first video again. Took a little bit of, I wouldn't say persuasion, but it's sort of like, okay, let's just do this. In the words of Nike, just do it. So we're just doing it. The other thing I was toying with was to keep this, whether or not to keep the same name for the channel, Circle Hook Productions. So I was coming up with other names and trying them out, and I was playing with logo designs and all sorts of things. And eventually, because I have my hats and I've got like a banner flag thing that I have up in my garage with the logo, yeah, I sort of went back and stuck on the original. Oh, Almost a fish. Almost feel like reeling down. Yes, we got him. No, he was there for a split second and he came off. That's my fault. I said earlier that I was going to just let the rods bend and not pick up the rod when it was a small bite, and I did exactly the opposite. But yeah, like I was saying, I was toying with the idea of other names, and thanks to Dan from Goober Time Outdoors, he sort of also convinced me and helped me to make the decision to stick with Circle Productions, and I think I made the right choice with that. So the good thing is, like, this is what I was talking about earlier. So the piece of chicken came off, but that little fish bite strip is still there, the shad flavored fish bite. So even if your bait does come off and you're sort of a bit lazy or not paying attention to changing out your baits, there's still a chance that you're going to catch a fish because of this little piece of bait that's hanging out. What's also cool is coming back to YouTube and watching all the fishing channels again and seeing how much everyone has grown in the time I've been away. Like I said earlier, I was almost at 1,000 subs before I left, and other channels were around the same, maybe a bit less. A lot of my friends and peers were sitting around 1,300, 1,500, those sort of things. Yeah, most of you have blown up now, and 3,000 plus in some cases. So really great job. Just shows that sticking to it and the consistency really helps. What I might do, what's it now? I've been on the spot for almost an hour, so it's 50 minutes now. What I might do is give this another, let's say, 20 to 30 minutes. And if nothing happens here, we're going to kick that motor into fifth gear, head around the corner there, past the marina, go under the highway, and there's a bit of a submerged log pile and some trees that are sticking out the water. The water's going to be a lot calmer, so it's more of like a cove kind of thing, like a little bay. And then we can put our baits down there by the trees and see if the fish aren't holding to those. There's a couple of spots in this lake that are sort of guaranteed spots for fish for me. This being one of them, that being the other. And there's a whole lake to still explore, which I haven't done yet. I actually want to get a bigger battery for the motor as well. I've got a 100 amp hour lithium in the back. So that gets me out there, but I want to be able to go without worrying about sort of dying, having the motor die and then having to paddle back. So these days, the 200 amp hours that are available are getting way, way smaller and lighter. So I want to check out what I can maybe do with one of those and get a 200 amp hour stuck there on the back, and then just free run it and just go as far as I want to, sort of all day, all night, and explore this whole lake. Downtown Ernie Brown, welcome, sir. Thank you so much for stopping by. That's a name I haven't seen in a long time. I know we subscribed to each other again yesterday evening, so thank you for that. Welcome to the new channel. We've got 8 awesome people that have joined the stream this morning. Wabash Nate, good morning. Thank you for joining. How are you doing today? With my accent, I say Wabash. I'm sure it's Wabash, but I could be wrong. Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that I want to put out a couple of quick, well, not quick videos, but a couple of videos pretty soon, like recorded stuff. Yes, I know this is a live stream going out for my very first video on this new channel, but I want to do like a walk around review style video for the kayak, which I've never done on this specific one. I did one previously for the Hobie that I had and never got around to doing it for this kayak. So we'll do that. And I've got a couple of unique things going on with it. So it's going to be pretty interesting. And then also I want to do a video on how I set up this whole live streaming thing. So you might notice that the sound quality is pretty good. You probably don't hear any wind at all, even though it's a very, very windy day. And then also the video quality, the stabilization of the camera, the fact that I can read comments just straight off the screen right in front of me here with, not looking at my phone, not having to go up to if it was a phone in front there, not have to actually go up to it and read the comments off that. So everything works pretty seamlessly. Yeah, and basically running StreamYard as if I was sitting in the studio at home on the home Wi-Fi. Wabash says, say it better than East Coasters. Okay, well, I'll take that. I'm pretty good at adaptation. So as long as I know sort of the context where you are and those sort of things, I can sort of figure out how to navigate that. Ernie Brown says you may go crappie fishing Monday if all goes well. That's something that this lake is very popular for, and also something I've never tried. So it's going to be part of this channel. It's not going to just be catfish. It's going to be a bit of a catfish and crappie sort of deal. So the way I understand it is I can throw out sort of swim baits, crankbaits, little ones, and troll those. That's the way I understand it. So I'm going to give that a go and see if I can't hook into some serious crappie out here. Yeah, very good eating as well, Ernie says. With the price of food in the grocery stores these days, it would make sense to come out here and catch food for the family. You maybe wonder what I've been doing while not fishing for the past year and a half, around that time. It's actually barbecue. So I got into proper Texas barbecue and smoking. So I make a mean Texas brisket now, salt, pepper, garlic, get that nice black bark on that brisket, and then dino ribs, pulled pork, obviously, but that's pretty easy. But yeah, it's really the brisket that I've perfected. I think so, at least. So that's another thing I might put on this channel, at least maybe when doing a bit of a product / tech review or walkthrough, have a bit of a brisket smoking session going on there in the background. And then also learn how to do fish that way too. I know it's a bit of a different way of smoking, but might be interesting to try smoke some crappie. Only says live minnows work great. So that's a good thing, because if I can't catch bait with my net, which does happen from time to time here, because I need to first learn where these fish are hanging out. It's sort of pretty random. So I'll try one day to catch bait where I have before, and then nothing happens, and I just randomly go around different parts of the lake, different docks and stuff, and I'll latch onto some bluegill. But the marina just up the way here actually has a bait shop, so they got live minnows and stuff for sale. So if all else fails and I want to do some crappie fishing, I'll stop in there and buy some if needed. And I guess that's what all the fishermen here do as well. You see them before launching their boats, they go and get some minnows. Unfortunately, they don't have big shad. I actually went there on, when was it? Friday evening? Yeah, it was Friday evening, just to see if they didn't have some maybe big frozen gizzard shad. Nothing. So I don't even think they stock it. They just have the little shiner type things, and then goldfish actually. So goldfish is pretty popular to use out here. I don't know if I like using goldfish. It's sort of like it's like using someone's pet. Still getting a tap. One of these two back rods is getting a tap every now and then. I can feel it. Talking about bait that feels or seems like using someone's pet. In South Africa, we used to use. Oh, it was this one here. In South Africa, we actually used to use little baby chickens, little chicks. Not live though; they were sort of dead ones that came from the chicken farms, and you could actually just go there and pick them up almost. I think it was for free actually, or a couple rands, which is the currency there, and very good bait for African sharp-toothed catfish. We call it a barbel. It's a catfish that looks like a wels, so it's a sort of a flatter type of fish, almost flathead-like in flatness, but then almost sort of wels type in color and other features. But it's a really aggressive fish, so it will do a lot of top water attacks on little baby ducks, birds, eats crabs, all sorts of things. So it's a very fun fish to catch, and was never popular. So back in the day, it was always seen as like a trash fish to go catfishing. And these days, it's sort of picked up. And there was a channel, a friend of mine, Pete's Whiskers. He's also off YouTube now. It'd be great if he came back. But yeah, he put out some great content on catching catfish in South Africa. So Pete, if you're watching, come back. Ernie says, I guess you're saying when your dad was a kid, he used to use chicks and mice on trot lines. Yeah, I mean, anything really that moves, and those are, I mean, chicks not so much a natural bait, but mice for sure are a type of animal that would go through the water to get to the other side of the river, or be in the water for whatever reason to escape a predator. And yeah, just their luck would have it that they're in the wrong place at the wrong time and get eaten by a catfish. Another type of bait we used to use in South Africa, and people still do, I'm not sure on the legality of it these days and what the rules are, but it's called a platana. So it's like a flat frog. So it looks like basically like a water frog, but it's flat and it's got like these webbed kind of feet, so it's able to swim, and it swims like frog style or breaststroke style, and they sit at the bottom of the lakes and ponds and those sort of things, burrow into the mud, and it's basically the same as a bullhead for flathead here. So it's like barbel candy, South African catfish candy. Yeah, thanks for stopping in, Ernie. Ernie says he's going back to work. Enjoy, and see you next time. Take it easy. I'm going to come off spot lock and drift back a little bit and spend the next 15 minutes before we head out to that other spot, just on the back end of this bridge, and just make sure that I'm just targeting the whole thing. Let's just check on our graph where we are. Okay, we're pretty much directly on top of, I guess we're almost actually on top of the bridge right now, but that's maybe fine. I don't think I've tried that yet. Where is it? Side scan. Yeah, we're pretty much there. We're supposed to have some rain and thunderstorms later today. And looks like it will be the case. There's a lot of darker type clouds there in the distance. They're coming from that direction. You can actually see behind me there, it's looking a little bit ominous too. But yeah, a lot of bad weather through the country the last couple of days. So I know up in Nebraska, they had some serious tornadoes that came through there. So I hope everybody managed to get themselves protected and get themselves under cover and those sort of things. But yeah, it didn't look good at all. And I think Oklahoma, Omaha, also had some bad sort of tornado type weather that came through. I know Dallas also had some tornado warnings. This was over several days. I think it started on Friday, and then even yesterday they still had tornado warnings the whole day. It's a little bit deeper here. I know it was 20 feet over there. Now I'm dropping my lines down and actually drop down a couple extra feet. So I'm gonna drop each one down and just reel it up until the sinker starts bobbing, and then we'll let that float at the hook pick up the bait. It's starting to get a little bit more peaceful. The wind's died down slightly, so we'll see how long that lasts for. The way it's been very gusty, so it'll blow consistently for a little bit, and then it'll get like very, very powerful for a little while, and then die down and sort of go back and forth like that. Okay, so I'm going to do 5 more minutes in this spot, and then I'm going to spin that camera around, and we're going to take a little bit of a trip and go visit the next spot where we'll spend 1 more hour. Come on. Still biting here. Got 4 awesome people still in the stream. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Every little bit helps me get my channel back up and running again. So please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell for live streams and videos. Let's make this work. Let's make this happen again. Well, the wind's actually died down enough that I can hear the birds and the ducks and egrets and other things making a raucous down there. So that's good. Oh, yes. Oh, he came off. And again, this is what being rusty means. Again, I picked up that rod way too quickly and didn't wait for the hook to set. Far too eager to get a fish on board. Okay, let's bait that one up one more time. Give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll head to the other spot. Now, this chicken is supposed to be the one I like to use from Walmart, like just the cheapest version that they have. Normally, it's like super tough, but they must have upped their quality because it's quite tender, and it's almost like the chicken that I've used before that just melts and falls off the hook. So that's not a good. It's not a good start with this Walmart bait. And I keep losing my strips, my shad strips. Come on. So that's that shad flavored fish bite strip. It actually looks like that old style chewing gum. You know those chewing gum strips. I wouldn't recommend using that for chewing gum though, unless you like eating shad. I know someone that likes to eat shad. And if Ryan Bortz would eventually wake up from his slumber and join us here, he would tell you all about that. It's actually quite nice now with the wind died down. I'm not going to get home and, well, I probably still am going to get home and feel like I'm still in the ocean. But right now it's feeling quite calm. It'll probably also be worthwhile checking these back baits since I haven't yet. Yeah, that one has lost the chicken. It just has the little piece of fish bite still left there. I'm going to pull this one up for now because we're going to head out to the other spot in a couple of minutes. Let's check this one as well. Got a feeling it's also baitless. No, it still has bait. I'll put that down for another 2. Let's hear in the chat, where's everybody joining from today? Okay, I think what I'm going to do, while the wind has died down a little bit and it makes it easier for me to travel to the next spot, we're going to actually do that and get out of here. So I'm going to pull up the lines and keep this piece of bait on there. It's still good. It's actually super fresh still. Okay, I'm going to spin you around and we're going to go for a ride. We can play some music as well. Let's hit it. Hey Dan, good to have you in here as well, man. Yeah, it's been a really long time, more than 2 years since I last, actually almost 3 years since I last live streamed, and more than 2 years since I was even on YouTube. Right now I'm heading to a new spot. So I just spent the first hour in my favorite usual spot that I've caught a couple of fish the last couple of times I've been out here. Now I'm heading out to a calmer spot where there's going to be less wind and a couple of standing trees. We're going to give it a go there. But yeah, really glad that you're here joining us today. And yeah, it's just exciting to be back on YouTube. No, Dan, I left South Africa 10 years ago, or 11 years ago, actually, in 2013. Been in America now for almost 5 years. I'm fishing up here right now, just north of Houston in Texas. One of the world famous bass fishing lakes. I think they've actually held a couple of Bassmaster Classics here. Okay, we have a couple of minutes still to go to reach our spot. So we are going to cross back over to Rock and Roll Kayak Catfishing FM, this track. Hey, Dan. Yeah, I'll come back now. So you asked, looks like that trolling motor has you scooting through the water pretty good. What model and thrust? So this is the Motor Guide XI3, the kayak version. So it's just a 12-volt motor, 55-pound thrust. It's the one I've had since the beginning when I still had the Hobie. But yeah, it does a fair job. I get about 4.5 to 5 miles an hour with it. I think it looks a bit quicker on camera because the camera I'm using has active stabilization. So I think it does something with the perspective relative with the boat and the water and the sky. it makes it look like it's going a little bit quicker than it is. But yeah, maybe makes for a good effect. With my eyes, it doesn't look that fast. We're almost there. I would say another 3 or 4 minutes of driving time. So we're going to go under that bridge, and then just on the other side will be our spot. Dan says he has a MotoGuide XR5 80-pound 24-volt. You're going to put on your 2-man bash radar. Picked it up for a whopping $105. Wow, what a steal. Was that off Marketplace or eBay? How did that work out? That's literally for free. I think we've got time for one more song before we get there. I don't know what this song is, but it is called Into Space. And we're back. And hello, Dan, officially. Good morning. Good to see you again, or good for you to see me and me to see your comments. Again, great to have you here. So this is my other little spot, and there was actually just a catfish that just breached the water over there, so that's a good sign. Here we're in about 10 feet of water, maybe even a bit less. That was a pretty short drop. That's okay. It's super calm here, and that's much better than where we were out on the wild open ocean with all the waves going on. The other cool thing with my audio setup is not only the wind that gets removed from but I'm also sitting right next to a highway here with trucks and cars and sometimes fire trucks and ambulances and stuff that come flying past. And I don't think you can hear any of that. So that's also pretty cool. All right, so let me just get myself organized here. I need to get bait on 2 of the rods. 2 of them still had bait. Yeah, it is a pretty good little spot here. When I last came out fishing, so when I mean last, I mean a year ago, like almost to the day, this is one of the spots I found and got some good fish. And then the other one as well where I was at. And then only recently, I would say, maybe a week or 2, I've been back out on the water, sort of just getting the kayak wet again. And I've mostly been at the other spot, but I know that this one does hold some fish. And it's going to be a spot that I'm going to probably try out for flatheads, quite frequently too. Actually, this whole area, so this whole little cove area with residential spots, they've got nice little divots and inlets that go into the bank, and I think it's prime flathead holes that are sitting in there, or the flatheads are sitting in those holes. It's obviously good for bass as well. So 9 times out of 10, if I do come out this way, I'm going to find a bass boat or 2 sitting here and pitching at these trees. But because it's so windy today, we don't have many fishermen out on the water. This one as well. And I keep misplacing those fish bites. Oh. Because I was misplacing them, I put them in the actual little side holder so that I wouldn't lose them, and I went and lost them. Perfect. Got a couple in a little paddle kayak up ahead of me, thinking I'm crazy talking to myself. It's all good. Okay, there's our 4th rod going down. And again, that can't be more than 3 feet deep. Let's see what it says on the graph. Down scan. 8 feet. Okay. We've got this rod here is bobbing quite a bit. It wasn't really a bite or or a tap. It was more like a solid little tug. Yeah, that's right. So Dan says sometimes the shallows are the best places. I agree, and it's something I need to focus a little bit more on. I tend to look for that 20 to 30 foot range of water. I feel more comfortable fishing those spots. But yeah, then all the time actually, you see people posting up pictures of fish, monster fish that they caught in like 2-3 feet of water. So yeah, definitely need to not be so avoidant of spots like that, and spend more time trying to pull fish out of them. Especially flatheads, they'll dig into a hole and make that their home. It's a nice little spot now. We can sit sideways again. There's no wind, there's no waves. Just perfect conditions. This is pretty cool because now these two rods on the right, they become my front rods and these become my back rods. Or I could swing it that way, do it the opposite, or go completely 360 or 180, face the back, and then also have a different perspective like that. Something I am going to do in future live streams. This is just obviously the first time again. So just getting my main setup right, getting the quality good and all that kind of stuff. But then going forward, I want to have that second camera out there at the back, maybe towards at sort of an angle, and then be able to switch between the two views. So if it's sort of like a fish on moment, switch over to the other camera and get that different angle. Follow the action that way. And then something else I want to do, because I've always, like my style of fishing has always been suspending, and then from time to time drift suspending as well. It's just something I got comfortable with, maybe over comfortable with. But what I'd also like to do is anchor properly, not just use spot luck all the time, and then have rods off my Boondocks landing gear at the back here. The landing gear is used for the wheels for the side of the kayak, so I slot the wheels in and I can pull the kayak in and out of the water. But then it's also got a gear track on top of that landing gear sort of metal tubing. So that's where these back rod holders are mounted to, but I can actually mount another set, maybe another two more in there, and then have all four rods out to the back cast out. So more sort of traditional style of catfishing, but then anchor the kayak properly so that the wind is not swaying me from side to side, keep it solid and have the lines out the back properly. Most of the guys are doing that. It's just something I've never got around to doing. Dan says he's also not done fishing in a while, and also not been live in a long time either. Yeah. I mean, same here. I sort of went off YouTube almost altogether in terms of even watching YouTube. I watch maybe some other channels, some tech stuff, some reviews here and there of stuff that I liked. But in terms of fishing, I was a little bit off completely. Like I wasn't fishing myself. I wasn't watching any of the YouTube channels. And then, with me not having my previous channel altogether, I sort of just had a casual account that was just my name, just to watch certain stuff. But yeah, then just things have changed around, and I've just developed that passion again, and just want to be doing it. I think I'm pretty good at fishing, so I might as well document that. My mom says I'm pretty good at fishing, so I believe her. We still got 3 awesome people watching. Thank you for sticking around. I know we haven't caught anything yet, but people like you make this worthwhile, make it worth doing. Yeah, thanks, Dan. I'm looking forward to it too, and hopefully see you back too. I need to make a. You're gonna hate me for this, but I was actually trying to think of your channel name to search you up again yesterday, and for the life of me, I couldn't remember it, like the whole thing. So I'm glad that you're in here, so I can click on that link again and subscribe to you. Oh yes, here we go, guys. Fish on. It's not a huge fish, but it was a vicious takedown. And actually, I've got a new net, so let's do this. With while I risk losing this fish and you're not seeing it, I'm actually going to use my brand new landing net. This is something very new for me. I never used a net before. But this is the Frable Bear Claw. So it's a one-handed thing, and it sort of pivots on your arm. And I'm holding it wrong, so that's the first mistake. Hold it underneath like that, and it's like a one-handed net, which is great for kayak because you can theoretically. I'm doing this completely wrong, guys. You know why? Because I'm holding the net inside out. So the hinge of the handle was flicking the wrong way. There we go. Well, that works. See? Woohoo! So in other news, I have officially never been skunked on this lake. So I've only been fishing out here, I would say, in total between the 2 years that I've been out here, or the year I've been out here, maybe about 10 times in total, but never skunked. So this keeps the record going. And keeps it going with a half decent little blue catfish right there. Is it a blue? Yes, it is. I'm so rusty, I'm misidentifying fish too. But there he is, vicious takedown, and sort of redeemed our decision to come out to this other spot. Cheers, fella. Thanks for playing the game. Yeah, so Dan's saying there, cool net, never seen that one. I had never seen it either until my regular browsing of Amazon. Maybe my wife would say too much browsing of Amazon for fishing stuff. But I just came across it and it looked super interesting especially for using on the kayak with the one-handed sort of approach. And yeah, it worked pretty well there. I mean, that size fish was okay. I could imagine a really, really big fish. It's not gonna work too well. It's not very big. It's not very deep with the netting. But again, like a huge, super big fish, what we do on a kayak is we put on the glove. So I've got a right-hand glove on this side, left-hand glove on that side, and depending which side the fish is, stick a glove on, grab it by the mouth, and pull him on board. But for these sort of little medium-sized fish, especially in tournament situations where I don't want to risk losing it, I think it's better to have a net and get him on board as soon as possible. Yeah, that's the plan, Dan. So I want to make a review video on several things. It was an area that I was super lazy with when I had my first channel. Always said, when I buy something that's, and I typically get things that are unique and stuff that other people don't use or haven't used before, and then I end up just enjoying it too much and not actually showing it and reviewing. But that's an area I want to change and create a bit more content for those sort of things. Okay, so in the famous words of a catfish channel whose name I won't mention, it starts with catfish and ends with Dave. This is now a fishing video. Yeah, so again, there's the net. So as you can see, it's deep enough and big enough or wide enough for a fish of about that size, maybe slightly bigger if the fish sort of curls up on itself and fits in there. And then you can see the handle folds in on itself, so it makes it quite nice and compact, so you don't have that long handle sticking out. And then because it's got that hinge system where it can't bend down, you grab it with the one hand like that, and that's why it's called a bear claw. So you basically got this big massive bear claw, Wolverine claw on your arm, and you can shove it there in the water and pull that fish out. It's pretty cool. And another reason I bought it, Dan, was it wasn't like, because Amazon, especially if you have Prime, you often get like really good coupon codes and discounts. So if I remember correctly, I think the normal price, and I might be wrong, don't quote me on this, but I think it was like $99 normal price, which is expensive. Like it's a lot of money to spend on a net, but it was 50% off, I believe. So I got it for like $50, which is what you would pay, I guess, for a good quality regular type of net. So when I saw it, it was like, okay, done deal, pull the trigger. Okay, so that, hey, Kayak Mike in the house. What is up, buddy? You just missed the dog. I got the dog and you missed the dog. So it was a little blue cat on this rod over here, probably about 2 to 5 minutes ago. So you literally just missed me catching the first fish of the morning. Hopefully not the only one, but I'm gonna not be out here too much longer. It's been 2 hours and trying to ease myself into into the whole YouTube world again. Kayak Mike says he's just waking up and he's hurting. Would you like to tell our audience why you're hurting? Keep it family friendly. Mike says he was that dad at the birthday party. Well, I hope your daughter had a fantastic birthday party. Happy birthday to her. Hope she had a lot of fun and hope you all had a lot of fun too. It sounds like you did. Okay, we are going to take a short little break. I'm going to put you onto a little bit of a cutscene here to keep you entertained, just so you know I'm not going anywhere. And we will be back in 2 minutes or so. And we are back. Sorry about that. Thank you for your patience. Sometimes got to take a bit of a bio break. And actually, just as we've come back, this rod is bobbing up and down again. So we could be in luck with another fish here. Mike, I'd appreciate that if you could send me a picture. I put a lot of effort and thought into how I do the setup for the live streaming. My focus is obviously on catching fish, but then second focus is on ultimate quality in terms of picture and sound. So hopefully it's looking good for you all. Send it far and wide, Dan. Appreciate that so much, man. Like I said earlier, starting again, like from this morning, I'm starting with 20 subs. So it's a challenge. It's not easy. But I think there's two sides to it. It's not easy if you're first starting out, but you know, I'm not totally new here. So there are people that are going to find me again and rediscover my channel, and that makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, sharing it out really is going to help me tremendously. So thank you for that. Some good quality H2O. So right now, I'm just suspending amongst these trees here. It's about 7 feet of water. In the next few minutes, what I might do, just to stir some action up a little bit, is just put the trolling on a very slow speed and just sort of like drift drag these baits all around the trees here. I'll probably get all tangled up and snagged, but we're gonna try it out. Sometimes you gotta take risks. There's another spot I discovered yesterday just down there. Now this is it's like a bay or cove kind of area that's more of like a residential area. So there's houses all the way around, big fancy houses too. All the rich people stay here. And then there's 2 islands in here too. And like the island, sort of right up to the bank of the island, it's about 4 feet deep. So it's a pretty good depth for fish to be holding up right up at the bank. So that's another good flathead spot maybe to try out at nighttime. Just move around those 2 islands. They're pretty big too. I mean, big in terms of sort of using the kayak, but small enough to sort of navigate and work the area quite effectively. So that's definitely going to be another spot that I'm going to hit at nighttime. And one of the best things for live streaming on a lake like this, being a very residential, dense type of lake with houses all along the shoreline, is that the 5G signal is really good. So that's one of the benefits of fishing out here. This life jacket also is pretty new. I got this the other day as a sort of welcome back to fishing for myself. The other one I was using was pretty new too, but it had this huge big like pouch. It was a big orange thing, and then it was like all round and stuff on the front. Like the pocket thing was like a round ball. So I literally looked like a pumpkin. And my very last live YouTube video was back on Halloween in 2001. So if I look back at pictures of that, I literally look like a pumpkin on Halloween with a life jacket. So I was like, nope, need to change this up, get something with a little bit more versatility. So this has got like extra pockets, one up here. So when I do sort of recorded videos with my chest cam, which I'm actually going to use a hanging necklace type thing for the camera to hang on, the battery will go in this top pocket here, and the little cable just sticks out and plugs into the camera. Because I like to film. So when I'm filming my pre-recorded videos, I run the cameras from start to finish. So I'll push both with the record buttons at the same time, and I'll record for the full 12 hours, take note of when certain pieces of action happen, and then go through the editing process, find those little pieces, those little chunks, and then start telling the story and tying it all together. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Every little bit helps. Anybody who shares it out is doing a huge favor. We've got some birds chirping, so I hope the noise cancellation is not so good that you don't hear the birds, because it sounds quite nice. So I hope I block the traffic, block the wind, but you still get the sounds of nature. That's the most important thing. Okay, like I said, I'm going to just move around with the motor a little bit, just very slowly, just drag these baits around these tree stumps or tree trunks. That's too quick, actually. I'll go slower than that. Actually, I got to. So there's on. That's off when it beeps. So I'm going to click it on 1. So that prop is turning literally like that fast, super, super slow. There's a fish that just popped out there. You probably saw that. Okay, we're just going to hold there a little bit. So we've got him up nice and close to this tree on the left. So I'm going to just stick it out here, see what happens. The spot lock's bringing me back a little bit to the left, and it's putting this rod directly in line with the tree. Got a bite here. I'm expecting this rod to go down in a moment. What's funny is even though I'm in this like cove area where there isn't much wind anyway, I think overall the wind's completely died down. So if I was still out on the main lake, it would be pretty nice. There's hardly a breeze. I mean, the trees aren't moving at all. But yeah, I don't regret coming out here. We got a fish, so that's the most important thing. The other spot wasn't guaranteed. This back rod's getting put right up against the tree there. Still got 4 awesome people watching. Thank you so much for being here. Hit subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. It makes all the difference to the channel. Now, if someone in chat has an XI3 trolling motor, can someone tell me how to get it to stop, especially when it's on spot lock, how to get it to stop from twisting the cable around and around? Like now it's untwisted itself, but there's times when I'll spot lock it and it will just decide to swing around sort of more than once and then face the same direction that it was, but now it's twisted the cable and it sort of makes it a little bit unsteady, almost like a coil spring reaction. So it's not completely locked in. Mike, if you're still there, maybe you have some insight on that. Okay, so Mike says what you normally do is unspot lock, fix it, then respot lock. Sometimes that'll fix the problem, but not always. Yeah, same problem here. That's typically what I'll do. I'll take it off spot lock, spin it back around so that the cable's completely unraveled, pointing to the front, put it back on spot lock, and then it just decides to have a mind of its own again and do like a spinning top, what do you call it, like a pyramid thing. For those that have just joined the live stream, or if you have been here for a little bit and I've not mentioned, I'm fishing about 50 miles north of Houston in Texas. We're on a famous bass fishing lake that has a decent amount of catfish, some good sized blue cats as well, some good sized flatheads. And so far we've caught one little fish just off the right hand side over here a couple minutes ago. And we're going to probably stick it out for another 30 minutes to 45 minutes before calling it a day. So stick around, let's see what we can catch. And then, Mike, I believe you've got a 24-volt system now. Can you tell me a bit about that? I don't really need it for the places I fish. I don't have super heavy current and those sort of things, unless I go to some parts of maybe the San Jacinto River if it's really flowing quite heavily. But it's not like a regular occurrence. So would that be the only sort of use case for it, or would you say it's good for just everyday fishing as well, or everyday kayaking? Not that I have the money to replace the XI3, but maybe one day if it means I'll get some benefit out of it. This rod's bending. I wonder if that's not stuck on a log there. Yeah, I think so. I think that hook or sinker has just got itself wedged, and as the kayak moves, the rod tip's bending down. It's more of a snag. Yep, popped it out. There we go. No harm, no foul. I do actually have the other. Mike says to go do the dad thing. Oh, thanks for stopping by, Mike. Yeah, do your thing. I'll do the dad thing later today. We'll go have some early dinner somewhere. But yeah, thanks again for stopping by, and yes, let's get the dog. So I was talking a little bit earlier about the chest cam setup. So previously I used to have like one of those handle things, like those tube handles that the camera sits on top of, and then I would have to swivel it from side to side to film that way. Different life jackets have different problems with that. So for example, this one, it's quite puffy on the foam up front here. So when I stick that little pole thing down into there, it's a little bit too thick, and it sort of doesn't move around nicely. It actually puts pressure on the chest as well, so it's not too comfortable. So I got myself this Osmo neck hanging thing for my Osmo Action 4 camera, and basically what that does is it allows you to put that around your neck like that. Let me just get the right. It's a bit tricky to clip it in. It's got a bit of a finicky thing there, just like that. So once it's around the neck, super easy, super comfortable, and we've got a fish here. Super easy, super comfortable. It allows me to open up the little slot on the side for the power port, the USB-C port. Yeah, I switched it on by accident. And then, like I said before, power it from this little pocket on the right-hand side, put a little cable into there, and away you go. So it's a completely hands-free, nice perspective kind of point of view camera angle, without needing to worry about how it's positioned and stuff in the life jacket. So that's going to be fun to try out and use. And I'll make my first fishing video using that. There's someone driving on the highway with a kayak strapped to the roof. It looks like a brand new one. It's still in the plastic, and the plastic's flapping in the wind, making a huge noise. It's quite funny. Oh, there's a butterfly on my reel. How cool is that? Even matches the setup there. It's got the orange. It's orange, white, and black. So the orange is matching with the line and the black for the rod. Oh, there we go. That one's for my daughter. Okay, now I'm going to swing around these trees like I said I would do earlier. The first time I tried doing that, I ended up just staying in the same spot, but now I'm actually moving around the trees completely. We'll do like a whole circle around these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees that are here. Just check on the side scan and the down imaging. What's the... No, that's not going to help me. Let's look on the down scan. I am going over a log right now, so I hope I don't get snagged up there. So my next live stream might actually be the Whisker Derby tournament. And I believe that the Whisker Derby is like on your own channel. And then the other tournaments will be on other channels. So like Palmetto Cats, Brian B Catfishing, and Fields to Water. Those are the other 3 channels that are hosting all the different tournaments. And I'm drifting too close to this tree right now. Let me just get out of here. Get that rod out the way. Okay. Yeah, so the next time I live stream, it might be that tournament. And one of the things that goes on there, besides catching fish, is actually giveaways. So the way it works is you get certain points for different size fish. So you get horseshoes. So the reason why it's called the Whisker Derby is because I think it falls on the same day as the Kentucky Derby. So instead of horse racing, we do a bit of catfishing, and then it's horseshoes, or sort of like the points for catching fish, and then giving away prizes and stuff on the channel gives me extra horseshoes. So when I took part in the first Whisker Derby way back, first annual Whisker Derby, that was a fun day and gave away a lot of prizes there. I think it was like 4 giveaways that I gave away, and I managed to come 3rd in that tournament that day. So this time around, I'm going to try to win it, try to get a whole bunch more subscribers and get the channel rebooted, and also get you into some cool prizes that we can maybe give away on the channel. Captain Clark's Sea Dory Adventures says, nice setup. Those rods are beefy. First time stopping by. Thanks for the live feed. Yeah, no, appreciate you. Thanks for stopping in. It's people that stop by the channel and have a watch that really helps things move along here. I'm starting a brand new channel with the same name as I used to have before. So anybody that stops by, subscribes, does all that cool kind of stuff, really doing me a favor and getting my channel up and running again. Yeah, and if I can share what I know about catching catfish from a kayak, all the better. If you can learn something, then we're all benefiting from this. Dan, take care, buddy. Thanks for stopping by again. And yeah, have a great day. See you soon. Okay, that back rod is probably going to get hooked on the tree there as I went past. I'm not paying attention to exactly where my lines are. I actually saw the sinker and the bait go over the log and fall down, so we're safe. 7 awesome people in the live stream right now. Thank you, thank you. I'm moving probably a little bit too quickly as well. Okay, I'm going to do one more pass through the middle of the trees here, and then there's a nice little embankment there with overhanging trees, and I might just sit there for a couple minutes, and if all goes well, we'll get a fish, and if not, we're going to call it a day at probably around the 3-hour mark. So I'm going to say another half an hour of fishing today, and yeah, again, thank you for everybody that's joined. It's been a great morning so far, even though we've got the one fish. But it's just great to chat here and back on YouTube. Let me swing the camera around so you can see what I'm trying to do here. So you can see up ahead, there's 2 rows of trees, 3 on the left, 2 on the right. And basically I'm just moving in between the 2, sort of like a little channel. I might go through them forwards and then turn around and come back the same direction, just on a little bit to the side, maybe a couple of feet. See if we can't hook up one more fish. So for those unfamiliar with the New Canoe Unlimited, which is the kayak I'm currently using and what you're seeing in front of you here, it's the boat-like stability of the thing. So it's a very easy kayak to simply stand up like that. You can rock it from side to side. I wouldn't do that in very rough water, but some places like this, even moving around with the motor, with my remote control here, scooting around, it's super stable, and I'm able to do a bit of side as well. So if I wanted to stand up and sort of like identify maybe some rocky areas, if the water was really clear, I could do that and scope out the fish a little bit better. Or if I want to throw my cast net. So obviously having that stability allows you to throw a net pretty easily from the deck. Okay, I'm going to spin it around one more time and go back in the opposite direction. And then for that Whisker Derby tournament, which is that next, the first tournament I'm going to be doing, and maybe my next live stream, that's on the 11th of May, I believe. I can't exactly remember the times, but I believe it's 7 a.m. Central to midday Central, or it's 7 a.m. to midday Eastern, something like that. But it's the first half of the morning of the day. So I'll definitely put up a little bit closer to time. I'll put up the video in YouTube as a scheduled one, and you'll be able to hit the notification bell for that for our next live. Before that, I'd like to get a couple of other videos recorded and edited, and have those in the catalog as well. Okay, basically what I'm doing now is I'm just almost sort of suspend drifting, but I'm using the motor to sort of pull myself very slowly to that little area or embankment I spoke about with the overhanging trees and bushes. And then we're going to hang out there for a couple of minutes. But it's always good to drag the baits along the way and see if we don't find something hiding out. Captain Clark asked what type of hooks I'm using. So I'm using a 10-aught size circle hook. It's an octopus type circle hook. So that means it's got the eye of the hook is a little bit outwardly bent to the side. But yeah, circle hook that does a great job of not getting snagged as often as a regular hook would. But yeah, it still can get snagged pretty often. I think this area is not too bad in terms of snags. I was maybe pretty lucky when I went over the log that I saw on the graph down below. And then when I pulled it over that tree stump or over the tree branch, it went over pretty easily as well. So again, pretty lucky there. In terms of bait, I'm using a nice big chunk of chicken as well. So I think the chicken gave it a bit of cushioning as it... Oh, I think we got a fish on, guys. Yep, we did. It's a very small one, but it's fish number 2 for the morning. And again, on the same rod as the last time, it's a little chunky belly channel cat there, little miniature one. And that's obviously on the chicken, but it has that little piece of fish bites, fish strip, shad flavor, that extra spice. So there's that little guy. Still a little juvenile. I've caught some decent sized in the past, up to like 30 inches, that really put on a bite. Pound for pound, cliche for pound, the fishes in the water. And Captain Clark, Sea Dory Adventures, that is the type of circle hook I'm using. So circle hook means that the barb or the point of the hook is pointed sort of inwards like that. So it doesn't gut hook a fish when a fish does bite it. You also don't need to strike or set the hook with a circle hook. So what we normally do is let the rod action take care of that in the rod holder and allow the fish to take the bait. The fish, the bait goes down the throat a little bit, but as the fish starts swimming away with it and as the rod tip starts bending, it applies that little bit of back pressure or back force onto the hook and onto the line, pulls the hook back through the mouth, and it turns as it's coming out and hooks the fish in the corner of the mouth. So that's sort of by design. And then also by snelling the hook with the line this way that I'm doing it, with the line coming back out the back side of the eye, also helps with the straight presentation, and then also allows the hook to turn the right direction when it comes out. So I hope that helps. put a new piece of chicken on here and another piece of fish bite, since this one is gone doggy. I would love to be using some bluegill for bait, some cut bluegill, but unfortunately we went out yesterday to catch some bait. It was, again, very windy, and there was no bait to be found anywhere, either by throwing the net or throwing little grubs into the shallows along the lake bank areas. And I didn't give a single bite, and yeah, just bad luck. So hooked up with a piece of chicken, and once again we're going to put on a piece of these Yaman fish bite strips. Seems like I'm advertising these, but I promise I'm not. I just like using them. You can find these on Amazon. They get priced a little bit differently. Sometimes it's $5 a packet. This one was the last in stock, and I had to pay $10 for it, but I was a little bit desperate in terms of getting stuff for today. So paid that $10, which I normally wouldn't do, but you can sometimes pick them up in bulk for maybe as low as $3 a pack if you buy a whole bunch of them. They last pretty long too, because you only need to use a small little piece and just use it to add extra flavor, in this case shad flavor, to the chicken. Yeah, snelling a hook is really easy, and it's something I only learned when I started catfishing when I moved to the US a couple of years back. I used to normally just tie, cinch knots most of the time, those sort of things, Palomar knots as well. Once I learned catfishing and started becoming, almost obsessed with catfishing in a way, it's the only way I tie a hook now, because that's the way I'm fishing. But yeah, never ever broke off at the knot. So I'm using 80-pound mono leader line from Casking, and not once ever have I broken off either at the cinch knot at the swivel or at the hook itself. So if you tie that snell properly, you wrap it properly, you bring it back through the hook, and you cinch it down or pull it down, it's not going anywhere. That thing is in place. And that's for the no knot snell. And I would say the only downside of it, but it's not really a downside, is that you have to tie the hook. So you get a piece of leader line, whatever length you're looking for. I like to do about 1.5 feet, so a little bit longer. Snell the hook to that line, and then put on your demon dragon or your spook or your whatever float or rattle you have. Put that on first, and then tie the leader line to the swivel that has the sinker slider above that. So that's the only downside. Like, you've got to tie the hook to the line before doing anything else. Whereas with the other snell knot, I can't remember, I don't know if it has an exact name. You do sort of a loop through the eye of the hook, and then you can actually snell the hook after you've tied the line to your main line. Captain Clark also says you use a number 6, so a 6/0 circle hook usually. I started off with 5s, 6s, 4s, the smaller sizes. And then one day I just decided to go up to the 10 because I was starting to catch bigger fish. I found spots where I was getting up to 50-pound catfish with that. And I just stuck to it. And as you can see now, that little dink channel cat came on a 10/0 as well. So yes, maybe I'm going to miss a couple of smaller fish that don't get the whole hook into its mouth, but that's sort of what I want as well. I don't want small fish biting the bait. But it's got no problem catching a small fish, as you could see. It happens pretty frequently. So I think the 10-augh's a nice, yes, it's a big hook, but it's also a nice sort of middle ground for making sure that you can get those big fish and you can put big baits on the hook, and then also not missing out on too many of the small ones as well. Okay, we're going to keep drifting since we sort of stopped where that fish was caught. So for the main line, I use 40-pound mono as well. Also a casting line. I've been using a line that was 0.61 millimeters diameter for a while. That's this one here. So this is the, sorry, no, not casting. So this is the Berkeley Trilene 40-pound line. And it's got a 0.61 millimeter diameter. So it reduces the amount of line I can spool up onto these reels. Not a big deal because I'm mostly spin fishing. Sometimes I'll throw them out the back and drag them. So I still have enough line to do that. And because the line is, pretty heavy breaking strain, I'm not too concerned about fighting fish with it. You can handle pretty much any fish. But I've recently bought the Cas King Destron line, which is 0.4 millimeters diameter. So I want to try that out. It's also 40 pounds breaking strain. And then I want to spool up with that and see how that works out. At least 25% more line on the reels. I like to use mono on the kayak, especially because of its sort of its flexibility or expansion, if I can call it that. So if I do get snagged, it's not like super solid, and I feel like I'm not having enough give to work the line out. I just feel more comfortable having that little bit of extra flexibility with the mono. And also, if I have to break it off with my teeth, I can still do that. With braid, it's a problem. You have to use a pair of scissors that are going to cut braid, or a knife that will cut it. Where I do use braid, though, is on my bank fishing rods. So I like to use spinning rods for the bank. And that's where I've got a setup with a Cas King, what's it called? It's a Cas King Sharky 3. It's a bait feeder reel. So it's got the little clicking thing. So you can feed that line out with a little, very silent clicker. And it's a very sort of finesse type of release of the line with the clicker. So it's good for carp fishing, and also good if you want to maybe fish for gar and have that gar pick up the bait and just walk away with it, just swim away with it very gently, and they don't get spooked. And then once it's really in the mouth properly and it's taken that bait and it's maneuvered it in the right spot, then you can switch off bait feeder and set the hook on the guy. But yeah, that's the only time I use braid is on my bank spinning rods. Okay, we're coming up to that bank now. I'll swing the camera around so you can see what we're dealing with. You can see there's a little catamaran type. Well, it's a kayak with the, what do you call those? The stabilization floats on the sides. That's the great thing about this kayak. We don't need those. Could probably go out in the ocean as well and not face too much trouble. And currently we are in, I'm going to tell you, 6 foot of water right now. And it's going to get shallower as we approach the bank. Marking a couple of fish down there. Oh, we got a hit. I've just spot locked just before we reached the bank because I did get a hit on one of the rods. I'm not sure which one it was. It felt like this back one. We just have to pick up our baits a little bit because we've gone a bit shallower, so they're dragging bottom. If MotorGuard is listening, fix these remotes. So this is a replacement remote because my other one eventually perished and the plastic cracked. But on these remotes, this little loop where you put your lanyard through, they always break off. So this one just broke off again today. And that's why I'm holding it in my hand, because the lanyard pulls through and comes out all the time. So if somebody from MotorGuard is listening, fix this thing. Okay, so we're almost right up against the bank here. I don't want to go too close, because right now we're in 5 feet of water, and it picks up pretty rapidly after that. So if I go any further than that, it's going to probably go up to a foot pretty quickly. So we're on basically a little drop off, mini drop off. Watch this back rod. There's a bite there. We still got 6 amazing people watching. Again, thank you so much. It helps the channel. It helps me reboot this channel from scratch. So make sure you've subscribed. Make sure you've hit that notification bell, and we're gonna do a lot of live fishing tournaments in the near future. Yeah, that's right, Captain Clark. They definitely don't make things the way they used to on anything these days. It's actually turned out to be a very pleasant day. Now that the wind's died down, it's actually a really nice day for fishing. And the other nice thing here in Texas is the water is warm. Right now it's like almost 80 degrees. The weather's good too, so I can wear shorts. Basically swim in the lake right now. So sitting out sideways like this is a bit of a problem because it's tilting the kayak over to the side. So these lines are touching the bottom and these lines are getting pulled too far up off the bottom. So especially if you're in really shallow water, it's not a really good idea. Yeah, Captain Clark, this is definitely Bass City. I would say 99.9% of all the boats that you'll see out here are bass boats. There'll be guys going for crappie as well when the season is right and the time is right. I have not seen a single other catfish angler out here, be it on a boat or be it on a kayak. From the bank, yes. So from time to time, I'll see somebody maybe with their rods fishing for catfish just casually. But like actually out on the water on a boat, some kind of watercraft with rods out the back dragging or suspending like this, I think I'm the only one so far. Maybe that changes if this YouTube channel can get moving and people see it. Maybe we'll see a lot more people out here, maybe even on kayaks. That's the thing with Texas kayak catfishing. We sort of got a widespread bunch of competitors. So only not even a handful here in the Houston area. It's literally like me doing this out here, and then we've got a decent amount of guys up in North Texas, more like the Dallas area, fishing Tawakoni and lakes like that. And then there's a whole bunch of guys out west, like in Abilene, sort of where the whole Texas kayak catfishing scene started. So I've been away from that group for a while, just sort of rejoined it and hoping to get back into taking part with the group again, and maybe going up to Dallas and taking part in some of the in-person tournaments that they might host from time to time. Captain Clark says, I have no competition then. That's sweet. Well, yes, it is. But I would also like from time to time to spy on where others are fishing and take some notes. So right now I got to figure it all out myself where the fish might be. But yeah, that's just the way it is. Got to hit you on the back. Hope you could see that. What I want to do is replace, like I love these two front rods especially. Like I'm a big fan of these big cat fever rods. They've served me so well over the 4 years that I've had them. But I want to replace all 4 rods with the white big cat fevers. And that'll help, especially on like live streams like this or on other videos, so that you can see the rod at the back and you've got a nice white stick sticking out there that you can see the takedown. I ordered some UV lights, so that's also something I've never really played around with before. But then having those white lights with the UV lights sitting out the back here at nighttime, maybe the other one positioned here on the front, it's going to brighten up this whole area and you're going to see those rods sticking out like a sore thumb. I think that fish is still there. I could feel it from time to time tapping on the rod. The only other problem with this lake, like this lake's great. I love fishing here. The only other problem is 90% of the shoreline, it's private property. So it's just like nice houses all around this part, around most of the lake that I fish around. So there's no chance of climbing off and fishing from the bank from time to time. This is Texas, so don't want to take that risk. What I've also noticed is people that live on this lake don't catfish. Because if it was me, if this was my house, this little piece of grass bank that's over here, I would literally have my rod there with some electronic beeper system that goes into the house permanently. There would be a bait in the water 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and we would catch the world record something. It's going to happen. But I've never seen anybody with like a catfish rod off their dock or even fishing off their dock. Most of the people got a boat and they sort of just pull out with their boat and go out their back porch door, onto their boat and out into the lake. So I'm going to check my streaming system here and check the temperatures. Everything's looking good. So I've got a very special setup going on here for my live streaming. I'm not going to reveal right now exactly what I'm doing because I want to make a video about that. But basically, it just requires me monitoring from time to time what the situation is with the system. But everything's looking good and sort of using this as a test run for the whole thing. So far, so good. I can actually maybe share my screen. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll save it for a video. 8 amazing people watching. Thank you. Thank you. We're coming up exactly on the 3-hour mark. We've got 2 fish so far, 1 little blue cat and 1 very small channel catfish, which we caught not too long ago by the trees that we were at. Right now we're in about 4 to 5 feet of water right up against the bank. And we've had a couple of little taps here, but I'm assuming they're very small little fish. Yeah, it's so shallow that I can see my bait at the bottom. So we're a little bit too shallow. I'm going to go back to that tree spot. We might actually go to the bridge over there, and we'll fish just on the outside of the bridge so we can keep the spot lock signal available. Yeah, don't do this. If you're gonna do this, don't drag it a million miles through the water. All you're doing is ruining your bait and potentially get snagged on something. So this is one of those don't try this at home moments. So I'm going to try at the entrance of the bridge. There's a little rocky outcrop on each side. On the right hand side, it looks a little bit more rocky. And I've seen with a side scan before, the rocks actually extend out into the little channel here quite a distance. So we're gonna put it right there where the rocks sort of end and the mud and stuff starts, to sort of get a transition line. Oh, we've got Judy and Devon all the way from South Africa. Thank you for joining. It's great to have our international audience. So Captain Clark's asking about my channel reboot. So it was sort of my own personal decision to shut down the previous channel. I went off social media sort of in general. And I think in terms of YouTube, it was a little bit of feeling burnout, that kind of thing. It was the pressure of going out fishing to make videos. But I've sort of reversed course on that, and it's more, twofold. I love filming, I love editing. That's one thing, and I love fishing. Now I need to just enjoy the process of doing those two things and not worry about anything else that happens in between. So it was personal decision, nothing to do with YouTube themselves or anything else. I just made that decision myself. And then I started the channel with the same name as before. That was a decision I was toying with, playing around in my head. I made a whole bunch of different names and logos. Nothing really resonated. And at the end of the day, decided to just stick with the old name and start again. So the one cool thing with this channel is that we should have an international audience. So I have family all over the world. From time to time, we'll have people from Australia, from New Zealand, from South Africa, from the UK, and then obviously the audience here in the US. But pretty unique in that sense that this will be a fishing channel for everybody. Okay, so now we're just at that little rocky outcrop next to the bridge that I was speaking about. I'm going to spin the camera around so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see the rocks that have been piled up to create this bank where the freeway comes over here. And the rocks extend out to probably where I am. So I'm just on top of where the rocks transition to the regular gravel and mud of the lake bed. Couple of marks as well in the water, so there's several fish hanging out. No way to tell exactly what they are, but they're medium size, could be good sized bass, most likely maybe a couple of gar even. I've seen some small gar swimming around here, especially at nighttime when I come through with the light on. So that's another typical challenge, especially in Texas with catfishing, is that you get the gar that play with when you're trying to catch catfish. I actually forgot to see how deep it was there. Yeah, 11 feet. So that's pretty cool. I like it when there's a sheer drop off from the bank to sort of where I am, where it drops off to 10 foot almost immediately. I always like fishing against little ledges like that. Okay, we're going to take another short little break, commercial break here, and we'll be back in 2 minutes or so. Okay, we're back. Thanks for sticking around. No bites while we were away, so we didn't miss anything. So the next live stream, not tournament related, what I'll do is go out on a night fishing trip with our light up at the front here, and we'll kind of do like an all night, go right through the night into the morning, maybe like a Friday night or something, hit it into the Saturday morning early, and see if we can't get some good live baits, some bluegills, and then go flathead hunting. Nice fish just popped out the water there. But yeah, that's sort of the next thing I want to do is is really go and target some big flatheads. The launch site that I launch from, it's sort of like a storage unit facility where I sort of pay a little rental fee and I have my regular launch availability. They got some photos on the wall there from a few years ago, actually, where right there at the ramp, guys are pulling out massive big flatheads. Easily 50-pound fish. There's a couple of them that they pulled out. So they are here. And there's a lot of places and structure where I'm pretty sure they're going to be hanging out. So if I spend enough time finding the right spots at night with the right bait, we're gonna hit up some decent flatheads out here. Hey, welcome back, Jody. You haven't missed too much if you've been away until now. Basically, we've got one little blue catfish earlier, and not too long ago, quite a very small little channel cat as well. So officially, still not skunked on this lake ever, out of the 10 or so times I fished here. So we're keeping the streak going. Jody says she's been listening while she was cleaning. I was just about to say, yeah, probably cleaning the fish slime off the pontoon. One thing about sun through overcast skies is that the refraction of that sunlight burns the skin like nothing else. You can feel it. All right, let's scoot through under the bridge. We'll drag our baits under and then stop on the other side for a couple of minutes. Let's see if we can't latch on something. Back up. And again, risk getting snagged, but it's okay. We might stop in the middle of the bridge for a little bit too. You can hear the swallows. There's a whole bunch of swallow nests that they've built in here, and the birds are flying around like crazy. So this is a pretty good speed I'm going through now. It's almost like normal drifting speed with the wind. A little bit too quick. Slow down one notch. But yeah, this is a pretty good tactic that I've had success with at different lakes that have bridges like this. Sometimes I'll just drag baits or just sort of suspend drift through it, and maybe fish that are sort of coming and going from their day out on foraging for food, they might be coming back to home base and looking for an easy meal. Sometimes you got to think like a catfish. Nothing so far. So currently we're in 15 feet of water. I'm going to stop here for a second, drop the baits down so they hit bottom. Now, the only challenge with spot locking under a bridge like this is that you lose GPS signal, or it's very iffy. And sometimes it can actually violently throw your kayak around or your boat. So it's not recommended. Like right now, it's actually pushing me almost all the way back into the pylons there. So I have to put the motor on, pull myself out, maybe just edge a little bit further out of the bridge from under it, get clear sky, and then put spot lock back on again. So again, that's the only thing. Like, you need clear sky to the GPS to give you a solid lock. And as Murphy's Law would have it, the kayak spun around, so the motor is under the bridge again. So there's all the swallows' nests that I spoke about. All the birds are flying around. So Jody's asking about what brand of hooks I use. So yeah, I was speaking about it earlier, and actually I've forgotten the brand. It's sort of like a no-name brand that I found on Amazon ages ago. And they just looked exactly like how I wanted a hook to be, with the amount of offset, degree, and the way that the barb was angled in. Just everything looked perfect for the way I like to fish. So I picked up literally a couple of hundred of those. I'll get out, Jody, and let you know. I've got packs of them too. I can always, if you send me your address or something, I can send you a pack and give them a try. I know you have your sponsored hooks too. But yeah, might be worth giving another hook a try just for fun. Or if you can let me know about which hooks you use, I'll try those out. I've just got a bass fisherman coming through, so I need to move out the way. So again, it's the same on each side of the bridge. Each side has got this rocky outcrop. So basically I'm on the point of the other one on the other side. Same concept, looking for fish that are hiding out where it transitions from rock to lake bed. And we've got snagged up on the back one. Luckily that came out pretty easily. We need to rebait this hook. Yeah, Jody, send me if you want to put your email address there, or maybe just contact me some other way. I wouldn't mind sending you a pack of hooks and you can try that out. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jody. I got your address there. I'll send you an email and then a message and we'll sort it out. I'll take a sticker in return if you've got some stickers. I've got some cabinets up in the garage where my kayak sits, and I want to fill up the cabinet doors, fill up with catfishing stickers of different channels. I think it's come to that time of the day. So I've been live for, it's coming on 3.5 hours now. So I'm going to call it quits for the day. We got 2 fish, which was not fantastic fish, but nice little fish to kickstart the whole YouTube journey again. Big thank you to everybody that stopped by, everybody that was in the comments, everybody that was sharing out the channel. Hope you hit the subscribe button, and if you haven't, please do that. It means the world to me. If you could tell your friends, share it out to other friends that maybe weren't on YouTube today, that'd also be great. And yeah, catch you in the next one. Probably going to be the Whisker Derby, but I might do a night fishing live stream before then, and also be on the lookout for some recorded videos that I hope to put out in the near future. So probably not more than a month from now, a couple of videos up just in time for those other tournaments and live streams. Just have something else to go and watch separately to that in the meantime. So again, thank you and peace out. See you in the next one.